Hello, today we are going to do the start of the Civil War, kind of the first official firings of the first guns, which takes place in April of 1861. We're also going to start a little bit with a little background history of the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860. I do want to thank the people from the Civil War Trust for giving us the backbone of this PowerPoint. I have altered it and changed it and added some technology and some neat stuff to it, but they did give us the basic elements of this, so I do want to thank them. All right, first thing we need to start with to understand the start of the Civil War is the election of Abraham Lincoln in November 6th, 1860. As you see here, Lincoln is represented in red, and he won entirely in the north. None of the southern states, kind of California and Oregon out here, really count as western states, not really north or southern states. So a clear divide here, and so he's not going to have a lot of favor. And the concern here is that he is going to be very anti-slavery. Southerners did get Lincoln a little wrong. Lincoln was more interested in preserving the Union than he was concerned about freeing slavery or civil rights or, human rights for that nature. He really just wanted to keep the United States whole. But that ultimately didn't happen. The South did see this as the Northerners, the Republicans, wanting to change their way of life, so it didn't work out well. But, of course, as we see here, Abraham Lincoln is a Republican. This term does switch to kind of how we see Republicans today, so it doesn't quite work, doesn't mean the same thing. What I'd like to do here is have you guys take a quick listen to a little bit from Abraham Lincoln's inaugural address.
In your hands, my dissatisfied countrymen, and not in mine, is the momentous issue of civil war. The government will not assail you. You can have no conflicts without being yourselves the aggressors. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic chords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart all across this broad land will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. For if destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time or die of suicide.
All right, and we also we want to then move into the secession of South Carolina after the election of Abraham Lincoln. So shortly after, he was made president on the 6th of November and the 20th of December, the South said, we're going to leave, and formally left. Secession, of course, means to leave. South Carolina based its actions based on the idea of states' rights, what they felt the new president, Abraham Lincoln, would violate, that he would, in essence, have the federal power to control what the state was going to do, and most notably in this would be to abolish slavery. So within the next 6 weeks after that, another 6 states would secede from the United States and start the Confederate States of America, their own nation. And here is, of course, South Carolina. And it is pretty much started and goes with these kind of close ones here, and then it kind of grows outward. Oops, I went a little fast there. To these states here. So you have South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, all kind of going first. Others, of course, will join this rather quickly, which we'll also see a little bit later on. We're going to actually see Virginia and West Virginia break off, because notice this looks a little different than our map today. So they need, of course, a president. That is not Abraham Lincoln, if you look closely. That is Jefferson Davis. He is the president of the Confederate States. And he was, a West Point graduate, very smart young man. He was involved in the United States government previous to this. And he accepts the post of being the Confederate president. And then we have our attack on Fort Sumter, which is located off the coast of South Carolina. And the Confederate forces fire onto the fort, and they are unable to effectively fight back. And the United States has to surrender the fort. And the Union leaves the following day. And this is the official start of the United States Civil War as far as the military powers go. This is when we have the true war. Let's take a brief listen here to a prologue on this.
On the 12th of April, 1861, Confederate guns opened fire on Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, thus beginning the bloodiest conflict in American history. 620,000 casualties, more than all other American wars combined. The Civil War remains this nation's single most defining experience, ultimately giving new meaning to the word freedom. Walt Whitman, a young newspaperman destined to become America's greatest poet, wrote, "Future years will never know the seething hell and the black infernal background of this war. It is best they should not. The real war will never get in the books."
And then with that, we have several other states seceding, including Arkansas, North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. Virginia joins the Confederacy on April 17th, 1861. And briefly after this, they are going to separate. I don't know how to pause this to let you go. Okay, I'm going to keep going. You can head out. Here's an excerpt from Jefferson Davis's inaugural address. "I enter upon the duties of which the office I have been chosen with the hopes of the beginning of a career as a Confederate, and may not obstruct our hostile opposition to your enjoyment of the separation existing and independence which we have assorted, and the blessings of Providence, indeed, to maintain our present condition, achieve in a manner unprecedented in the history of nations, illustrated in the American idea that government rests upon the consent of the governed, and that is the right of the people to alter or abolish their government whenever it becomes destructive to the ends of which they were established." So really building upon the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that says that it is our right to break away from any country, our own country, if it is deemed no longer helpful. And then this does eventually lead to our first few battles. So and the first major one that's going to happen is the Battle of Bull Run outside of Washington, D.C. All right, and that is where we're going to end for today. Thank you very much.